Every bonsai carries the story of change. With each owner, a new vision is etched into the tree's form. My time with this tree will be brief, just a moment in comparison to its lifetime. But even in that moment, I'll leave my mark. Before me, other artists shaped its path, guiding its branches and refining its character. And now, the tree offers me new opportunities. With just a gentle touch, this tree becomes unbalanced. So we first need to fix that by changing the planting angle. But we need to be careful not to go completely vertical. Now that we've changed the planting angle, we need to choose the front for the tree. This is the original front that was chosen for the tree. This isn't a bad option, as you can see a lot of movement in the trunk, and you can see the first branch well. You can get a little bit more movement out of the trunk by changing the angle slightly, and from this front, it opens up a big gap on the right hand side of the tree where there's almost no branching. You can see the apex pretty well, so this is a good option for the tree. But let's take a look at some of the other fronts. This front is slightly rotated just to the left. As you can see, we've now used that back branch to fill in that empty space on the right hand side of the tree. We can also put these pads on different levels by adjusting the branches with wire. In this angle, we've also added a little bit more movement down in the bottom half of the trunk, but we've lost just a little bit of movement up near the apex, but that's okay. Right up in the top of the apex, we've managed to bring it forward just a little bit more, which gives the tree a little bit more depth. From this angle, we're looking at the back of the tree. On this side, we do feature a lot of lichen on the trunk, which gives a lot of age and character to a tree. We can also see a lot of the dead wood that was formed. There's a lot of movement in the bottom part of the trunk, and there's also a lot of movement up near the top of the apex. But on this side, we actually lose a lot of movement and depth from our branching. So you can see that every angle has its pros and cons. So now we have to choose which front that we want and which features enhance our design the best. This is the front that I've chosen, due to the branch placement and the apex placement. Deadwood and lichen can always be created later. We now need to begin removing the wire that was put on by the previous owner. We can now begin applying our new wire. We're going to wire out the whole entire tree before we start moving any branches. We'll start wiring our bottom branches first and move up to the top of the tree. We'll wire out some of the primaries, but we're going to do most of the secondaries and tertiaries. Some branches will be left until we start making the final design, but at this stage, pretty much most of the branches will be wired out. We have some bar branching on the tree that needs to be removed before it begins to swell and creating inverse taper. Now that the tree is fully wired out, we'll have one more rotation of the tree just to make sure that we're confident with the front that we've chosen and the design that we're going to start working towards. We're going to start with our lower branches first, moving them into place and then working our way up towards the apex. We will make some primary movements for now, but some of these may be changed later as the design begins to take shape. This branch is quite heavy and needs to be moved a fair distance. So we're going to use our copper guy wire to help us move that branch and keep it in place until it sets. After moving all our branches, we now have our design. We can now concentrate on getting our slab ready for the tree to be planted on it. First, we're going to get our tie-down wires ready. In this case, I'm using copper wire. The tree is going to need to be secured down well to the slab, as it's going to be quite loose. We can now prepare our muck. When I make my muck, I use a mixture of sphagnum moss, as you can see here. I'm keeping this in its long fibered form, as this acts kind of like a Rio and keeps all the other ingredients together. I'm now adding in some peat moss. And some akadama fines, which will glue the whole mixture together. Add some water. And get your hands dirty. You want to make it until it is a fairly wet consistency, so it stays together, and you may need to keep adding ingredients until you find the right consistency. I'm going to start removing some of the old fertilizer and compacted soil off the surface. I will also remove some of the moss, which we can use later once we replant the tree on the slab. Now I need to mark out a perimeter around the tree with chalk, so I know where I have to place my muck to create our walls to keep our soil in. Now that we have our perimeter, we can start placing our muck. I'm going to bring the tree in now for its first test fit. Do not rush this stage. Make sure you get the trunk angle right, make sure you get your rotation right so you see all your lines and your branching that you've set out. You don't want to work so hard on your bonsai design and then realise you've placed it on the stone wrong, and then you can't actually see all the features that you've tried to place towards the front. I'll now backfill with soil and chopstick until we cover the existing root ball. I'm now placing the moss over the muck wall that we've built, and over time this moss will spread and cover the entire thing. one final rotation to have a look at our newly designed tree.